meeting of the Essex County Board of Chosen Freeholders is hereby called to order. Madam Clerk, can you please call roll?
Yes, Freeholder Bobadilla. Absent. Freeholder Vice President Gill. Absent. Freeholder Johnson.
Present.
Freeholder Jones.
Present.
Freeholder Luciano.
Here.
Freeholder Richardson.
Here.
Freeholder Siebel.
Here.
Freeholder Toro, absent. Freeholder President
Here.
Timberlake.
Thank you. Please stand to salute the flag. I'm going to ask that Freeholder Siebel lead us in the salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. I have before me a certification from the clerk that this meeting is indeed in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Madam Clerk, are there any transcripts to be approved?
Madam President, there are none.
Okay. Are there any topics of discussion?
Madam President, there are none.
Okay, let's move to public comment session. If there's any member of the public wishing to comment on agenda items only, please come forward, state your name and affiliation for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak, monitored by the clock to my right. Okay, Madam Clerk, let the record reflect there's no one wishing to speak on agenda items only. If there's any member of the public wishing to speak on any issue at all, please come forward, state your name and affiliation for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak, monitored by the clock to my right.
Good evening, Council. I'm R.A. Cowboy, which I am pleased to be here tonight, and I have a feeling that I have to say what I have to say because I know that I am to be a part of anything that is going to go on with this year of setting up things and freeholders and the parks and everything. And I feel good about it. And I see a lot of things that's going to be corrected and have to be corrected because a lot of things I see, if it doesn't work, it's not going to add up. And the things about it, I know that if it isn't right, it's not going to work anymore because we're being guided by the Holy Spirit. And this is why I have been coming up here and I've been being shown to who I am and what I'm about. And if anything isn't right, it's not going to work anymore. And I'm glad to see that the president and the freeholders that's here, I see that you're working in a way of making things the way that you're supposed to be. And I love being up here, hearing the things that's going on, and if it isn't right, it's going to have to add up. So I am pleased to be to where I can bring things to the table, and I have a lot of things to bring, and I'm glad to be a part of the freeholders. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cowboy. Recognizing freeholder Cynthia Toro is now with us. Are there any other members of the public wishing to speak at this time? Okay, Madam Clerk, let the record reflect that there is no one else wishing to speak. Thank you again, Mr. Cowboy. Do we have any ordinances or resolution for introduction and first reading?
Madam President, we have none.
Okay, do we have ordinances and resolutions for listing purposes only?
Madam President, we have 3.
Okay.
Ordinance number O-2016-00003, ordinance of the County of Essex, New Jersey, securing the Essex County Improvement Authority not to exceed $8,250,000 project consolidation revenue refunding bonds, Series 2016 refunding project for the purpose of providing additional security therefore and determining certain other matters in connection therewith. Ordinance number O-2016-00004, ordinance to rename the Essex County Division on Welfare to the Essex County Division of Family Assistance and Benefits. Ordinance number O-2016-00005, ordinance to rename the Essex County Workforce Investment Board to the Essex County Workforce Development Board.
Okay, thank you. You can list ordinance O-2016-00003 for public hearing at our February 10th meeting, and O-2016-00004 and O-2016-0005 for our public hearing at our February 17th meeting. Do we have any ordinances or resolution for second hearing or public hearing?
We have one. Ordinance number O 2016-00001, ordinance naming the Parks Building in Essex County, Irvington Park as the DEBORAH Beasley Community Center in honor of Essex County Freeholder and Irvington Councilman DEBORAH Beasley.
Thank you. And I hereby declare the public hearing for ordinance O 2016-00001 open. If there's any member of the public that would like to come to speak for or against this ordinance, please come forward, state your name and affiliation. You have 3 minutes to speak, monitored by the clock to my right.
Good evening, William Tedesco, Roseland, New Jersey. Now you wonder why a person from Roseland is going to speak on this here. First of all, many years ago, actually, when Mr. Beasley became a freeholder, that's when I started coming to these meetings, thanks to Freeholder Jenkins. You know, basically. So it's been quite a while, and you know, I've seen him. In fact, if you remember, when just before you came in, I came up here, made a speech, and Mr. Beasley happened to be in the hospital at that time.
I remember.
I heard most of your speeches, and I really enjoyed them when this was introduced. To me, he was a great gentleman, very nice. I always spoke to him. In fact, I miss him when he used to come, when Irvington had their graduations up at the arena, and I used to meet him there all the time. And like I said, he was always a gentleman. He was always a good, kind person. And, you know, basically, so I'm very in favor. I think this is a great thing. Also, maybe the only person might remember, and the only original one that I know is Freeholder Seaball. Most of the other freeholders are gone since I started speaking here many years ago. And before the disparity study, I was the first one. I think I told you that back in December when I came in here. The only one who spoke for jobs for everybody before the study was on. But with his work and the county executive's work, things got done. But I always felt everybody should have a piece of the pie, because if we all have a piece of the pie, we're all happy and healthy. So again, I congratulate you. I congratulate the county executive, because I think this is a great honor for a person that I personally never voted for, because basically I'm not from the 2nd District. I'm not from Irvington, but again, I do miss him, and may God bless him. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tedesco. That was very well said and well spoken. And we are talking about, Madam Clerk, the ordinance of naming that house at the park after Mr. and the dear late our dear former freeholder and late freeholder, Bilal Beasley. And I saw Mrs. Beasley, Basima Beasley, walk in, and we're during a public comment session, Ms. Beasley. If there's anything that you would like to say for or against this ordinance, this is the time to come forward.
Good evening to everyone. Good evening to the freeholders. I would just like to say publicly, it's an honor and a privilege for the Freeholder Board to name the complex after my husband, who Irvington Park was dear to his heart. And I thank you for that. And my daughter would like to say a couple of words.
Please.
I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for keeping my dad's memory alive. Thank you for naming the complex cafe after him. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's very nice to see the Beasley family here. Freeholders? Freeholder Seabolt?
Thank you. I was a freeholder for a long time with Freeholder Beasley, and I got to know him very well, and I was very, very fond of him. He was truly a wonderful individual, and I am so pleased, really very pleased, that there is going to be a building in Irvington Park, which he loves so much, named after him. And I think it's just wonderful that this is happening. And I couldn't think of anything better to do right now than to name something like this after Freeholder Beasley, who was truly, truly a wonderful, wonderful individual. Thank you.
Thank you. Freeholders? Freeholder Johnson?
Yes, as I stated in the first reading, no one deserves it more than DEBORAH Beasley. As I said, as a kid, I grew up with him and his brother, his other twin brother, Dan. They were two of the best basketball players that you would find in the city of Newark, and back in those days, it was very, very tough. And I've always admired the style of the Beasleys, so this is more than fitting for the work he has done and the people he have groomed and helped them grow in politics and life and all. And so I'm ready for us to just vote for it, and let's get it done.
Absolutely. Freeholder Jones?
I just want to say I want to thank the board for supporting this resolution. Bilal Beasley was a dear friend of mine. We worked for many years, close to 40 years, in the township of Irvington, and no other person is better than he to deserve this recognition. And I am happy to make the motion so we can pass it. Levy Jones, his friend, Freeholder at large.
Thank you, Freeholder Jones. Freeholders? Freeholder Richardson?
Ditto. Everything that was said here,
That's it.
and you know, they said it all. There's nothing else to be said. You know, there's not a more deserving person that I can think of. And you're right. We're always going to keep his memory alive. We want to make sure of that.
Freeholders? Thank you, and I second everything everyone said. He was a great man, and like I said before, when we first talked about this, on his deathbed, I had the opportunity to go and speak to him at the hospital, and I'll never forget that, and I will always cherish that moment for him to be able to impart some of his wisdom into me. So thank you, Ms. Beasley, for being here, and the motion.
We have to close the public hearing.
Do I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing?
I'll second it.
Moved by Freeholder Jones, second by Freeholder Seapolt. Mr. Paul Vecchio, did you have any questions or comments?
No.
Okay. Do I have a motion and a mover and a second to approve this ordinance? Moved by
Yes.
Freeholder Jones, second by Freeholder Seapolt. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Bobadilla, absent. Freeholder Vice President Gill, absent. Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Toro.
Yes.
Freeholder President Timberlake.
Absolutely.
So moved.
Thank you. And thank you, Ms. Beasley. Okay. Let's move to resolution number 1.
Resolution 1, the Office of County Administrator authorizing the renewal of county commercial properties insurance policy for the Essex County Correctional Facility with affiliated FM Insurance Company for the period January 1st, 2016 through January 1st, 2017 at an annual premium of $359,665.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Abramowitz, actually, I would like to recognize Freeholder Vice President Gill is now present with us. Freeholder Vice President Gill, we just voted in the affirmative to do the naming of after Bilal Beasley. Would you like to be added?
Affirmative, please. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Abramowitz, can you please explain resolution number 1?
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, this is for renewal for real and personal property at the correctional facility at an all-risk replacement cost basis. Last year, we expended $398,420, so this is approximately a 10% reduction. I do have Ike Jenkins, our risk manager, here to further add to this and to answer any questions you may have.
Mr. Jenkins?
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board. Ike Jenkins here, risk manager for the County of Essex, and I'm also here tonight with Mr. Brian Erlandson, the property and casualty broker from BGIA, who was the account rep on this particular account for the county jail. We're here tonight seeking approval and authorization to bind coverage or renew coverage with 2 policies. The first being the renewal of the Essex County Correctional Facility commercial property insurance policies provided by the incumbent affiliated FM insurance company. This particular policy, the term is renewed from the policy period January 1, 2016 to January 1, 2017, this year with one variation. That variation being a decrease in the policy sublimit for flood loss from $10 million to $5 million. This decrease in sublimit is a result of the incumbent's decision to significantly reduce their exposure in the flood loss market. They've made similar changes, not just with the County of Essex, but with all of their insureds as it relates to flood-related exposures. As a result of the decrease in flood sublimit, the carrier issued a credit of $38,755, thus a renewal premium cost of $359,665. That is the first policy under resolution number 1. The second one refers to resolution number 2. I can keep going or I could stop there.
Please continue.
Okay. The second policy pertains to the purchase of an excess flood loss policy provided by Westchester Surplus Lines Insurance Company with limits that will sit excess of the flood sublimit found in the primary correctional facility's commercial property policy. The flood policy, or the excess flood insurance policy, although new for 2016, will also be in effect from the same period, January 1, 2016 to January 1, 2017, and will provide another $4 million of flood sublimit for a grand total of $9 million in flood sublimit. The combined premium for both policies total $398,420, which represents a $255 savings over as respects to the expiring policy. So it's a $255 savings for both policies this year.
Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. Mr. Polavecchio?
Okay, Mr. Jenkins, we had the benefit of talking about this last week a little bit, and how last year's property insurance policy, or the renewal policy, and the decision of the company to reduce that flood sublimit is now being picked up by the excess flood insurance policy. So where we used to have $10 million in coverage for flood, we're now it'll be $9 million. But can you tell me if that's sufficient to cover any risk that we would have down at the correctional facility?
Yes, through you, Madam President. The historical loss with respect to flood loss to the correctional facility was somewhere around $6.5 million. So the $9 million that we secured is, I think, pretty adequate. If we had gone to the $10 million, it would have cost the county another $8,800, right? $8,800 to secure that. So with the historic loss, we felt that the $9 million was sufficient to cover that.
Okay. And so for the total between the two, the property and the excess flood, we're saving a little bit from last year, yet we're still adequately covered on both the flood part and the property.
Through you, Madam President, that's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Freeholders, any questions or comments for Mr. Jenkins? Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Jenkins.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, can you please list resolution number 1
He also did 2.
and 2? Thank you.
I don't think I read 2 into the record.
Would you can read it into the record at a later time.
Okay.
Would you move to resolution number 3, please read?
Resolution 3, Office of the Sheriff, authorization for the County of Essex to apply for and accept a sub-grant award of the federal fiscal year 2014 from New Jersey Department of Law and Public Safety, Division of State Police, Office of Emergency Management for Emergency Management Performance Grant, number FY 14-EMPG-EMAA-0700 in the amount of $100,000.
Thank you. Mr. Bromowitz?
Yes, Madam President. This resolution authorizes Essex County to apply and accept a sub-grant for emergency management in the amount of $100,000. The purpose is to enhance and sustain the county's all-hazard emergency management capabilities, enhancing county's ability to prevent, respond, and recover from acts of terrorism and natural disasters and other catastrophic events. The grant is $45,000 for municipalities and $55,000 for the County of Essex, and the funding formula was established by the state of New Jersey.
Thank you. Mr. Paulovecchio?
I don't have any questions.
Freeholders, do you have any questions or comments? Okay. Hearing none, please list it. Let's move to resolution number 4. Please read.
Resolution 4, the Department of Administration and Finance, Office of Purchasing Contract Award to Susan A. Furnari, D.ED, to provide psychological examinations for Essex County law enforcement agencies, exercising 2-year contract option, amount not to exceed $350,000.
Okay. Mr. Bromowitz?
Yes, Madam President. This is a contract extension request. The original contract was a 2-year for $350,000. We spent $202,000. We're asking for the extension for $350,000 as well. It's an open-ended as needed contract. This is for officers for county law enforcement. When we're hiring and recruiting law enforcement officers, they're required to go for a psychological examination prior to hiring. This would be for the departments of the corrections, the sheriffs, prosecutors, and youth house. We've been using Dr. Furnari for many years, and Dr. Furnari is actually here to answer any questions you may have.
Please.
Good evening.
Good evening, Dr. Bernard. Would you like to tell us more information?
I have been doing law enforcement evaluations for the County of Essex.
And Dr.
for
Bernard, apologies for interrupting, but can you please state your name and affiliation?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Dr. Susan A. Furnari, I'm a licensed psychologist. I have been doing law enforcement evaluations for the County of Essex for about 26 years, both pre-employment and fitness for duty evaluations. Do you have any questions?
Mr. Paulovecchio?
Hi, Dr. Furnari. I know you've been doing this obviously for a number of years. Under this particular agreement that we're looking to exercise the option on, there was a 2-year agreement prior to this option. What were the typical number of exams you did per year, or is there a typical number?
That's hard to say. That it changes. I would say that the majority of the evaluations that I do are pre-employment for the corrections department, many less for the youth house, and maybe 1/3 for the sheriff's department, and some for the prosecutor's office. So just to give you an example, this Sunday I evaluated 43 corrections officers. This coming Saturday, I will be seeing 24 more, and 11 youth house pre-employment candidates.
Is that, and just a follow-up question, is that, to me that sounds like a lot. Is that because it's the beginning of the year, or are they new hires?
I believe so. They kind of come and go in spurts.
Mr. Bromwich?
Yes, Madam President. I might add, the way it happens is we get civil service lists, and we hire off of civil service lists, and they come in waves typically. So if we want to get 50 candidates for corrections into the corrections facility, we have to interview 150, 200 candidates, whittling it down to qualified candidates. At the time we're going to offer employment, that's when we'd send it to Dr. Furnari for the psychological examination. So that varies from time to time. Right now we've been hiring a lot of correction officers, not so many sheriff's officers and youth house employees.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Freeholders? Freeholder Richardson?
Yeah, I too think that sounded like a lot to do on a Saturday. So how long does the typical interview last?
The interview itself is about 20 minutes. The assessment process is about 4 hours, and the analysis takes place subsequent to the actual face-to-face.
Thank you.
Freeholders? Freeholder Jones?
Madam President, I would like to have numbers as to how many persons have seen from different departments. I know we talked about civil service. I heard something about the correctional center. Mm-hmm. Are these the clients, or these are the officers that is going to work in the facilities? I'd just like to have some numbers for the last 2 years in terms of comparison as to
Certainly.
the type of evaluation that occurs.
Through you, Madam President, that's possible, and I'll do it for you. No problem.
Thank you. Please make sure that we get that information to Freeholder Jones as well as the entire board. Freeholders, any other questions or comments? Okay. Madam Clerk, please list it.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
You're welcome.
Please
Thank
move
you.
to resolution number 5 and read.
Resolution 5, Department of Corrections Contract Award to Valiant National AV Supply, the lowest responsive and responsible bidder to furnish and deliver televisions for the county correctional facility, 2-year agreement not to exceed $40,446.
Thank you. Mr. Abramowitz?
Yes,
And,
Madam
Mr. Abramowitz, before you begin, I see several people leaving that were here for that very resolution. If anyone takes their time and comes into the chambers for the resolution, I'd like to hear from them so that they feel as though they're not wasting their time. And it was just Under Sheriff Spango and, that we're here to support the resolution. So I just wanted to give you a heads up.
Okay, thank you, Madam President.
Yes.
Resolution 5 is to purchase television sets for correctional facilities or the open areas of the pods in the correctional facility. We received 3 bids from 23 potential vendors. This vendor is from Essex County, residing in Fairfield. The money, the $40,446, is paid out of the trust account from the Prisoners Benefit Fund, and it's an open-ended as-needs basis contract.
Thank you. Mr. Polavecchio?
What is the Prisoner Benefit Fund? Is that, does that come from, well, just the question, what is it?
Prisoner benefit from the Madam President is when people put money into prisoners' accounts for purchases, commissary items, kiosk items, things like that.
So if a purchase is made from that account to the commissary, does a percentage of the take at the commissary go into a fund?
That's correct.
Okay. Kind of like we have a beautification fund up at the different facilities, so a portion of the revenue, I guess, is set aside for things like this.
The analogy is correct.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Freeholders? Freeholder
Madam
Jones?
President, just a little bit more clarity. That you say something about the commissary. Do the prisoners go and purchase these things, or are these things that are placed in areas
No, they
that
actually don't.
all prisoners or inmates, are able to use? What is the 40,000?
Through you, Madam President, the prisoners actually, the inmates actually purchase these items.
Okay.
They're additional to what the correctional facility provides, and if they want to buy additional toiletry items or things like that. Anything commissary, snacks, beverages, things like that, they can purchase them.
And for $40,000, who gets that?
The $40,000 is going towards the purchase of the television sets.
The purchase of television sets?
Correct.
An independent agency that the prison or the correctional center is selling for, say, Home Depot or somebody like that. Is that how they purchase? The television, do you buy them in bulk, the institution?
The television
or-
sets are being provided by this company, AV Supply Company in Fairfield.
Mr. Bromwitz, can you please provide a real example? So let's say you buy a bag of chips, and the chips are $1.
Okay?
A certain percentage, just to make sure that, my logic is right, and my thought pattern is correct on this, a certain percentage of that $1 goes into a fund, and that fund accumulates, in which that it can be used then for whether or not it be repairs or television sets that are needed.
Yeah, that's correct. In addition to recreation equipment can be purchased.
And the $40,446 is coming from out of that fund that has accumulated based off of percentages that were gained from sales made at the commissary.
Exactly, Madam President.
Thank you. Freeholders, any other questions or comments? Okay, please list it. Let's move to resolutions number 6 and 7. Can you please read?
Resolution 6, Department of Public Works, Division of Engineering, approval to submit a grant application and execute a grant contract with the New Jersey Department of Transportation for the replacement of Orton Road Bridge over Pine Brook Township of West Caldwell and project identified as LBFM-Essex County -00012 Resolution 7, Department of Public Works, Division of Engineering, approval to submit a grant application and execute a grant contract with the New Jersey Department of Transportation for the rehabilitation of Mill Street Bridge over Second River Township of Belleville and project identified as LBF-Essex County-00013.
Thank you. Mr. Bromwitz, can you please explain?
Yes, Madam
6.7?
President. New Jersey Department of Transportation dedicates $25 million for all counties exclusively for bridge improvements. Each county gets a minimum of $1 million. The County of Essex is requesting the board approval to apply for grant applications for replacement of the Orton Bridge in West Caldwell and of the Mill Street Bridge over Second River in Belleville.
Thank you. Mr. Polavecchio?
I don't have a question on that.
Freeholders? Rita Luciano?
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Abramowitz, are the towns notified by the county about this? Do they know about the grant program? So they're the ones that are requesting this.
Through you, Madam President, yes, they do. They're aware. So West Caldwell would know about Orton and Belleville would know about Mill Street.
I'm sorry, maybe I'm confused with your answer. We are doing this, or the town is asking us to apply for the grant? Who determines the bridge project, the scope?
Through you, Madam President, the County of Essex is requesting that these
County
bridges
of
be done.
Essex?
Yes, we inform the townships that it's being done.
Okay. No, I'm just curious because I live about 20 doors down from that bridge on Orton Road, and I didn't know that the county actually goes around on municipal roads finding bridge projects because it is a municipal road.
Mhm.
I just thought maybe this is something we should advertise to the municipalities because they may be able to identify municipal road bridges. So, I mean, look, you're saying that a minimum of $1 million a year? We
Per
may
county,
have more
yes.
than just 2 projects that we might want to do. Is that not, is that feasible? I mean,
Yes, it is.
see, I had assumed that the town had asked us, noting that the bridge was deteriorating, or, so the county actually does that.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you, Madam President.
Freeholders, any other questions or comments? Rita Toro?
So you said that the state gives to every county up to $1 million a year.
That's, yes.
And there's 2 resolutions, one's for a bridge in West Caldwell, and the other one's for Belleville. So does that mean it would be split up between the 2 bridges, or one would get it and not the other?
Through you, Madam President, we would have to check that up, but I believe it'd be split between the $1 million, but we would get a definitive answer for you.
Just
Yeah.
want to know how it works. Thank you.
If you do the math, it makes sense. It's $25 million, it's 21 counties.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Good questions. Freeholders, any other questions or comments? Okay. Please list 6 and 7. Let's move to resolutions number 8 through 12. Please read.
Resolution 8, Department of Citizen Services, acceptance of the 2016 Essex County Human Services Advisory Board Grant Agreement, $68,859. Resolution 9, Department of Citizen Services, Division of Community Action, amendment to subgrant agreement with East Orange Community Development Corporation under the Community Service Block Grant Program, extending the term for the period January 1st, 2015 through March 31st, 2016, and increasing the funding from $232,373.19, adding $64,232 to an amount not to exceed $296,605.19. Resolution 10, Department of Citizen Services, Division of Community Action, amendment to subgrant agreement with Montclair Neighborhood Development Corporation under the Community Services Block Grant Program, extending the term for the period January 1st, 2015 through March 31st, 2016, and increasing the funding from $290,547.16 and adding $30,000 to amount not to exceed $320,547.16. Resolution 11, Department of Citizen Services, Division of Senior Services, approval of the 2016 matrix of subcontracts for various agencies to provide services to the elderly, amount not to exceed $10,019,083 grant funding. Resolution 12, Department of Citizen Services, Division of Senior Services, approval of the 2016 service providers and rate under the Respite Care Services Grant, amount not to exceed $481,466.41, grant funding.
Thank you. Mr. Bromwitz, can you please explain?
Yes, Madam President. Resolution 8 is the County Human Services Advisory Board Grant Agreement, $68,859. The council was established in 1983, the Human Services Advisory Board. We provided funding for the past 32 years. There are 34 members on that board. We bring them before this board for advice and consent every year. It's to provide ongoing forum for public input and participation, delivery of social services and resource allocation, and there's an in-kind match of $9,574.
Thank you. Mr. Polavecchia?
I don't have a question.
Freeholders? Okay. All right, and 11 and 12, that's grant funding.
Madam President, 9 and 10?
Yes, I understand. I'm asking you about 11 and 12.
Yes, they're grant funded, Madam President. I'm sorry.
You can explain them all if you have.
Okay, I have lots of people here that can help me out for this one, too.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
9 and 10 go together.
Please bring them up.
I'm sorry?
You can bring them up, your people up, as you explain as well.
I will do that. I will do that. 9 and 10, the state extended the grant period so the sub-grant agencies can spend down the additional surplus grant. This provides a range of services and activities to low-income residents of Bloomfield, East Orange, Irvington, Montclair, Orange, and Belleville. Additional funding is based on anticipated program service levels over the original service levels, and I have Maurice Brown, Director, and most of his department here to come and explain.
Hi, Mr. Brown.
Good evening, Madam President and freeholders. My name is Maurice Brown. I'm the Director for the Division of Community Action for Essex County. The additional funding that you see here comes from a little, I guess, design work that my staff and I did. We had recently, if you remember, we had received a grant for our continuum of care, $90,000 for planning for homelessness. Well, because of that, we did some reshuffling, a little redistricting, if you will, and creative work, and we found more money in CSBG and determined, instead of using it for administrative dollars, that we would give it to the community and help these agencies work with their programs in our neighborhoods. So that's where the additional money comes from for these two. And plus, we lost an employee that had left, so that freed up money is there as well. And what we did was change some of the responsibilities of some of our employees so that we could work, I guess, a little smarter, if you will, and give more money, again, like I said, to the communities.
Okay. Mr. Polavecchio?
No questions.
Freeholder Board? Freeholder Jones?
I just want to say to Mr. Brown, it makes me feel good when you said that you cut back in terms of the staff being spending or whatever the operation is, and to give back to the community. And that's what it's all about. And
Thank you.
You're doing a good job.
Thank you.
Yes. Freeholders? Well, I certainly second what Freeholder Jones said. Thank you. Mr. Bromwitz?
Continue with 11 and 12, Madam President?
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Okay. I have Jackie DeVore, Director of Senior Services here, and her staff to explain 11 and 12.
Ms. DeVore, hello.
Good evening, Jacqueline DeVore, Director of the Division of Senior Services for Essex County. Number 11 talks about our matrix. And just to do a little bit of background, every 3 years, the state does a state plan, and we do an area plan. And during that period, we do an RFP to go across those 3 years. It's a 3-year state plan, it's a 3-year area plan, and the RFP gets put out for a 3-year cycle. Although the contracts are rewarded are awarded for a year, with 2 years that they can be renewed if they provide the services correctly and if funding remains the same. In 2015, we sent out an RFP in July, almost all of the RFPs that came back in, or all of the proposals that came back in, were from provider agencies that have already been in service for many, many years in Essex County. Very few new providers, because it takes a lot of dollars to be able to be in service and provide the services for the first 3 months without getting funding. So after our RFP, our area plan was conditionally approved by the state, and now all of our providers are in place. So this matrix takes the place of physical contracts, and what it does is it shows you all of the providers, it shows you the address of the providers, the services that they provide, the funding sources that we're using to fund them, and also what they got last year. So if there's a variance or a difference in any of the funding, we explain what that's all about. And so again, we don't have any new funding on there, but what we've had to do is similar to what Director Brown had to do. In that, we didn't take money from our administration, because our administration dollars do go to funding for the employees for the most part in our agency. However, sometimes with the funding, there are so many different sources that come in, and we have to use more of one source and less of others in order to keep everybody at the same level. We try to keep every agency at the spending level that they were at the year before, because we know that the funding is static. We haven't really been getting a lot more. Every time we look around, we're getting a lot less. So we try to make it work the best way we can with what we have. And we take a look at all of the agencies across the board to make sure that they're doing the services that they're contracted to do, that the service levels are intact, and that they're doing them in a way that Essex County would be proud of. So that's about the matrix, and that's number 11. Number 12 is the approval of the service providers and rates under the respite care services grant. And what respite care is for the caregiver. Most people understand that in our lives now, most of us are caregivers, whether we have children or whether we have older parents. We are caregivers for somebody, or whether we have an ill spouse. And respite gives the caregiver a little bit of time. If the caregiver has to, I remember this story from the very beginning, and please indulge me a little bit. When I first started, there was a lady whose husband had Alzheimer's, and he could not be left alone. He was a little violent, but when she was around, he wasn't. And so she needed to garden for 2 hours a week because it kept her sane. And respite provided a caretaker to come into the house for those 2 hours, somebody that he could be comfortable with, and she was able to garden for 2 weeks. That's what respite really does. And so the state provides agencies that we can use, because in respite, the caretaker is allowed to choose the program or the service that they want to get. If a person the caretaker has to go into the hospital, and we have to put their person into a nursing home, the caretaker is allowed to choose the nursing home, and so it's from a list that we get from the state, and the rates also come from the state. So that's what number 12 is about.
Thank you very much. Mr. Polavecchio?
No questions.
Freeholders? Okay, thank you so much. Oh, you're gonna just slide on over and sit down, huh? Off the hot seat, huh? No, I just wanted to say thank you very much. You are doing a phenomenal job with our seniors.
Thank you.
And we have got to take care of our seniors. Every society should. And every society should also have someone like you who does such a good job leading that charge. So thank you.
I appreciate that. I sat at the feet of my grandmother, and I never forgot it. She was a wise woman, 5 feet tall, and she never went to school, but she was the wisest person I've ever met in my life, and I sat at her feet, And I remember, and I'll never forget it, actually. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you, and I can certainly identify with everything you said about your grandmother, except for mine wasn't 5 feet. But I did sit at her feet, and she gave me so much. God rest her soul. So, Madam Clerk, please list resolutions 8 through 12, and move to resolutions number 13, please read.
Resolution 13, Department of Economic Development, Training and Employment, Division of Training and Employment, Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, local designation of Essex County.
Mr. Abramowitz?
Madam President, if you recall, we recently renamed the WIB Board to the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity. This is a new federal law requires that Essex County officially request designation in order to continue funding and reserve to service clients for the renamed WIB Board, which is now the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. We must be endorsed by the resolution of the board, and I have Ben Amos here to come up and explain to you and answer any questions you may have.
Thank you.
Ben Amos, Division of Training and Employment. The item under consideration this auspicious evening is merely a formality required by the transition process from one federal Workforce Act, fondly known as Workforce Investment Act, to another. After 16 years of the Workforce Investment Act, it has now been replaced by the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, which most of you are familiar with. WIOA, as it's fondly known, has been around since 2014 and mandates that all workforce local areas nationally, that includes Essex, come into compliance with the new federal law between the years of 2015 and 2017. So we are meeting that deadline through this initiative. This exercise is considered to be our initial designation, as Mr. Abramowitz mentioned. The purpose for the change of rules and regulations was to more appropriately target and meet the needs of citizens in a changing work environment. Clearly, your support of this request is vital to the residents of Essex County, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Paulovecchio?
Just to reiterate that the important part I heard and read was that this resolution is required in order to continue receiving the federal funding, correct?
Through you, Madam President, that's correct.
Sounds like a good incentive.
Absolutely. Freeholders? Thank you. Please list it. Let's move to resolution number 14, and thank you for the explanation.
Resolution 14, Department of Health and Rehabilitation, Division of the Hospital Center, 2-year affiliation agreement with the Academy of Clinical and Applied Psychologists. Oh, psychoanalysts, I'm sorry.
Mr. Abramowitz?
Yes, Madam President. This is a renewal agreement, a 2-year affiliation agreement with the Academy of Clinical and Applied Psychoanalysts. The school uses the hospital center as a practicum site for their students. The school covers both liability and holds Essex County harmless, and this benefits both the County of Essex and the schools themselves.
Thank you. Mr. Paulovecchio?
And there's no cost to the county for this, correct? In addition to the hold harmless benefit, the benefit of their insurances, we don't incur any cost. Correct?
Through Madam President, that's correct.
Freeholders? Thank you. It's a good program. Let's list it. Madam Clerk, resolutions 15 through 34. We must take action on these tonight. They're all 2016 temporary emergency appropriations. If you could just read one time 2016 temporary emergency appropriation from the state of New Jersey, and then read office of for the following. That would be good. So please read 15 through 34. Only reading the first sentence.
Right, 15 is first sentence is different from the rest.
Okay, read that one and then do the rest of them that way.
Resolution 1520, 16, temporary agency appropriation from the Department of Children and Families for Child Advocacy, the Office of Prosecutor, $334,750. Resolution 16, temporary emergency appropriation from the State of New Jersey, Office of the Attorney General, Division of Criminal Justice for Body Armor Replacement Fund Program, Office of a Prosecutor, $12,118. Resolution 17, Division of Criminal Justice for the Body Armor Replacement Fund Program, Department of Corrections, $57,499. Resolution 18, Essex County Annual Transportation Program, Department of Public Works, $5,217,500. Resolution 19, for Chancellor Avenue Township of Irvington and City of Newark, Essex County Department of Public Works, $139,133. Resolution 20, Department of Transportation for Lyons Avenue Township of Irvington, Essex County Department of Public Works, $109,043. Resolution 21, for Personal Assistance Services Program, Division of Community Health Services, $130,000. Resolution 22, Department of Human Services, Division of Mental Health and Addiction Services for Alcoholism and Drug Abuse, Division of Community Health Services, $1,322,962. For the Department of Health, Resolution 23, Department of Health for Right to Know, Division of Community Health Services, $20,419. Resolution 24, temporary emergency appropriation for the Department of Economic Development, Training and Employment, Division of Housing and Community Development for Tenant Resource Center, Division of Community Action, $93,000. Resolution 26, Department of Human Services and the cash match from the county match appropriation for area plan, Division of Senior Services, $4,967,730. Appropriation for the New Jersey Transit Corporation for New Jersey Senior Citizens and Disabled Residents Transportation Program, Division of Senior Services, $1,218,620. Resolution 27, Department of Human Services, Division of Aging Services for Respite Care Program, Division of Senior Services, $594,515. Resolution 28, Assistance for Community Care Givers Assistance Program, Division of Senior Services, $54,295. Resolution 29, appropriation from the Respite Care Program for Respite Care Program Income, Division of Senior Services, $26,598. Resolution 30, appropriation from the New Jersey Transit for SCDRTAP 2015 Special Transportation Program Income, Division of Senior Services, $82,808. Resolution 31, the Office of the Attorney General, Department of Law and Public Safety for Juvenile Detention, Alternative Initiative, Innovation Funding, Division of Youth Services, $123,633. Resolution 32, Department of Community Affairs for LIHEAP CWA Administration, Division of Welfare, $53,555. Resolution 33, Department of State for fiscal year 2016 Cooperative Marketing, Department of Parks, Recreation, Cultural Affairs, $21,250. Resolution 34, Department of the State of New Jersey Council on the Arts for fiscal year 2016, Local Arts Program, Department of Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs, $124,836. $124,836. That's Resolution 34.
Get some water. That was a lot of reading. Thank you. Mr. Brownwitz, can you please explain as well as why formal action is needed tonight?
Yes, Madam President. We're requesting formal action because most of these were budget inserts left over from December and January when we didn't have freeholder meetings to present these. So we need to get them on as soon as possible if that is your wish.
Mr. Palavecchio?
And just the term, if you're not familiar with it, temporary emergency appropriation sounds pretty dramatic, but it's merely because we're operating under the 2016 temporary budget, not the adopted budget now. So they are grants and budget insertions. It's just a kind of intimidating name for a nice thing that we're getting.
Freeholders? Any questions, any comments? It's very straightforward. Do you have a mover and a second to take resolutions 15 through 34 together? Moved by Freeholder Richardson.
I'll second it.
Second by Freeholder Jones. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Toro.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Gill.
Yes.
Freeholder Bobadilla absent. Freeholder President Timberlake.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you. Please move to resolution number 35 and please read.
Resolution 35, Department of Administration and Finance, Office of Purchasing, authorization to use competitive contracting process in order to solicit proposals from qualified vendors for the provision of website consulting services.
Mr. Bromowitz?
Yes, Madam President. The current contract for website services expires on 3/31/2016. A new law has been enacted which places the website services under competitive contract process. Therefore, we must go to competitive contract. This is for the Board of Chosen Freeholders Office, County Executive's Office, and Surrogate's Office website consulting services.
Thank you. Mr. Palavecchio?
Yeah, so this resolution only authorizes the use of the process. There will be another resolution down the road once the vendor is selected and then will be approved.
Through you, Madam President, that's correct.
Freeholder Toro?
Once we select a vendor and put, would that include our emails as well system, or is that something separate?
Through you, Madam President, it's just the website.
Because we do log in from the website, but I just would like to eventually see an upgrade in our email system. It's really difficult to navigate sometimes.
Very difficult.
Through you, Madam President, when we have the specifications out, we can ask for your input to see if there's something specific you want to go out when it goes to contract.
That'd be great. Please solicit the opinion of the entire board. And freeholders? Freeholder Vice President Gill?
Thank you, Madam President. This, just on a follow-up and a comment on not only on the email, but this is something, at least since I've been here, that I've continually talked about, that I really think on the administration side, we need to look at centralizing the IT functions of the county. Right now, the way we function, we have every department with their own, essentially, IT plan, so to speak, and in many, it's one of the few areas that I don't think we are ahead of the curve. And I would strongly encourage the administration to look at that again and to centralize the IT function of the entire county sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Thank you, Freeholder Vice President. I certainly stand firm in that request with you as well. Freeholders? Okay, and thank you for, you will solicit the opinion and we will give you feedback. Do I have a mover and a second?
I'll move.
Moved by Freeholder Toro. A second?
I'll second it.
Second by Freeholder Seabolt. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Bobadilla, absent. Freeholder Vice President Gill.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Toro.
Yes.
Freeholder President Timberlake.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you. Please move to resolution number 36.
Resolution 36, Clerk of the Board, Freeholder Appointment, Deborah Davis Ford.
Thank you. We need to explain. Mr. Bromwitz, let's just get out. Please list it, and let's move to resolution number 37.
Resolution 37, commendation honoring Marjorie Bravard upon her retirement from the office of Essex County Council, sponsored by acclamation.
Okay, thank you. Freeholders, any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. Thank you. Please list it. Do we have any report of board committees? I actually do. Freeholder Jones and I, we went down just as we are, well, Freeholder Richardson and I are really the representatives, but Freeholder Jones attended with me. The gentleman who came before us at our meeting to speak regarding a potential issue of a closing of a veteran center in Irvington and replacing that center with a Taco Bell, we did go down and speak with the mayor of Irvington. The mayor of Irvington gave us a very respectable answer as far as what was actually occurring. They are not looking to get rid of the services for the veterans. In fact, the services will still continue, as Mayor Voss explained to me, and that the building was deemed to be a hazard, and there were other issues. Freeholder Jones, would you like to comment? Okay, and the veterans that were at the meeting last Wednesday were in attendance at this meeting. The Mayor Voss is going to continue moving forward. As he said, the sale is pretty much already done, and these are the final days. In fact, as I'm speaking now, it's probably completely inked by now. But I think the most important thing to know is that we, as the Board of Chosen Freeholders, if an issue of veterans or really anyone comes before us, but especially the veterans, it's no secret that I definitely will always go above and beyond for vets who have gone above and beyond for us in serving our country, come before us about an issue, even if it is a municipal issue, that we will at least try to open up the communication lanes for them to communicate with the mayor and anyone else it is that help facilitate any meeting necessary. But ultimately, it is a municipal decision. Regarding our banking committee is a board of a whole. I'm speaking to the whole board. Our 30-day compliance period, Freeholder Johnson, you mentioned Wells Fargo and someone mentioning that they would get someone down here. Unfortunately, Wells Fargo has declined to come before us. However, they submitted a survey. I would like to inform you that our ordinance, the law in which we passed, states that they need to come before us to give an oral report, and Wells Fargo has denied that request after several attempts from our office, as well as that 30-day extension which was given. And this would have been the last meeting for Wells Fargo to have as an opportunity to come before us. Do I have any questions or comments?
Well,
Freeholder
Madam
Jones?
President, if
Yes,
it's the
ma'am.
law, first of all, they'll be very disrespectful to the citizens of Essex County. It's not their personal account, it's the people's account. And we requested them to be here like the other banks, and they chose not to. I cannot support them as being one of the depositories of Essex County's money.
Thank you. Freeholders, any other questions or comments? Freeholder Richardson?
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to know how much how much banking does the county actually do with them? How much is the deposit that we have with Wells Fargo? Is it a significant amount of money?
In Freeholder Richardson, usually I have those numbers right in front of me, and I don't have them in front of me today.
Okay.
Mr. Bromwoods, would you happen to remember the numbers?
Madam President, I do not.
Madam Clerk, would you happen to remember the numbers?
No.
Mr. Polavecchio, would you happen to remember the numbers? We will get those numbers to you, but we definitely have deposits with them.
Sure. So, and I agree with Freeholder Jones. All the other banks came before us and submitted a survey. They did what they were supposed to do. So, hey, I don't see any reason to support them either.
And on your desk is a copy of that survey, as well as the email chain proving the communication, as well as the decline. And there were also phone conversations in which it was stressed that this was something that other banks have also done, and we were just encouraging that they come and tell us what it is that they're doing for the community. And they still declined. Freeholders? Any other questions or comments? Okay. That's all I have for any board committees. Are there any legislative reports? Any written communication? Any unfinished business? Any new business to discuss? Now I'd like to move to to public comment session. If there are any members of the public wishing to speak on any issue at all, please come forward, state your name and affiliation for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Mr. Cowboy?
I'm R.A. Cowboy, 66 Dayton Street, president of Cowboy Ranch House. And I learned a lot just being up here, and I feel like I said a part of the freeholders. And just hearing about the freeholders, talking about the bank, Wells Fargo, and I'm about Cowboy Ranch House. And that made me go to Wells Fargo because that's what they started out with, the horses and the stagecoach. And I was working with them trying to get things started, and they're trying to find out what I'm getting ready to do. And I'm getting ready to do something very big, and it's going to go all over the country. But just hearing what you were saying, that they not coming to you and speaking to find out what it's about with the freeholders, it bothers me. This is a bank to deal with, and I want to find out more, and I'm glad to be here tonight to hear that, because I have my banking representative is checking on some things with the executives of Wells Fargo to see if I'm going to be a part of what they are about, because I know that I can make their bank very big in what I'm getting ready to do, bringing everybody being a part of Cowboy Ranch House equally to me. And I have a plan that has been shown to me by the Holy Spirit, and I've been shown to go to them when I incorporated my business. Now, I'm very glad to hear this tonight, because it's something that I can bring up with them to find out how they're going to work with me in my project, because I'm working with the children all the way up to the senior citizens, equally to everybody being a part of what I'm doing. Now, I've been working on these projects ever since I've come here, and I came from Pittsburgh in 1951 in East Orange, and I've been working with the horses and things. And then I moved to Newark, where I'm to be working with the police horses, the police, and getting them horses together. I give 50 years to Newark City. Now, I've been shown to come up here to the county, and I've been shown that I'm to work with them for 25 more years. And so I know that all of this sounds funny, but I know that things is going to be shown later on as I am to do that. I appreciate just having the time to speak, and I appreciate the freeholders. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cowboy. Are there any other members of the public wishing to speak at this time? If so, please come forward, state your name and affiliation. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Okay, Madam Clerk, let the record reflect no one else is wishing to speak at this time. Now I'm going to open it up for a freeholder comment session. Freeholders, do you have any comments? Freeholders, I just would like to let you know that next week you can expect to hear some advocacy around Boko Haram and what is occurring in Nigeria. Although we are not obviously an international board or a federal board, we will be doing something in support of our federal legislators championing something being done. Babies were burned yesterday in Nigeria at the hands of terrorists. And this is something that should be taken very seriously. So I'd like to tell you that and just give you a heads up of the whole. Freeholder Vice President Gill.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to thank my colleagues on the board. Last Friday was the reorganization of NJAC, and I had the opportunity to now serve as the Secretary Treasurer of the organization. And so again, wanted to thank you and the board and the members of the board for your support on that position. And just two things, just to highlight that the conference is quickly approaching. May 18th in Atlantic City, and that if any freeholders want to submit a program or conference, that there's still time to do that as well. Not just to participate, but if there's an issue that the freeholders care about and would like to see discussed, that the New Jersey Association of Counties is now taking suggestions on programs that they're going to provide during the conference itself. So thank you.
And congratulations, Mr. Vice President. That was actually going to be my second comment, which was congratulating. No, that's okay. Congratulating you. We are very proud to have one of our very own from Essex serving for the state of counties. Freeholders? Freeholder Richardson?
Through you, Madam President, and sorry I couldn't be there for the swearing in, but you know, my heart was in the right place, my body was in somewhere else.
Much warmer place.
But congratulations as well. I know you're going to do a great job there.
Thank you.
Freeholders? Okay. Motion to adjourn?
Move it.